years, Fisher-Price has been known for quality in children's products. That same dedication to quality can now be found in the Fisher-Price Home Entertainment Library. The collection includes delightful children's entertainment, like Paddington's Birthday Bonanza, starring Paddington Bear, that silly bear who can't keep his snout out of trouble. Brown Bear's Wedding, the beautiful, funny, and romantic tale of Brown Bear's bumbling courtship, nominated for 5 Emmy Awards. And The Berenstain Bears Play Ball, and The Berenstain Bears and Cupid's Surprise, 2 great animated stories based on the best-selling children's books. Fabulous excursions, including a day at the zoo and a hot air balloon festival, all great live-action trips kids will want to watch again and again. Fun education, including Character Builders, a series designed to help develop positive character traits, using intriguing stories like Bouncer the Rabbit and Benny Bear. And I Love Dinosaurs, a new series introducing preschoolers to the fantastic world of dinosaurs. Magical Christmas tales filled with delightful stories for the whole family to enjoy. Stories like A Christmas Carol, the Oscar-winning adaptation of Dickens' Christmas classic, narrated by Michael Redgrave. And Barney's Christmas Surprise, with that starstruck sheepdog Barney in a special holiday story. Parenting Tips, featuring the acclaimed 3-part Touchpoints series with Dr. T. Barry Brazelton, the baby doctor for the 90s. The Fisher-Price Home Entertainment Library, at last, a children's home entertainment collection with the quality worthy of Fisher-Price.
Welcome to Touchpoints, the Brazelton study. For the past 2 years, we've filmed over 100 hours of the 12 families behind us to share with you my concept of touchpoints. Touchpoints are times which precede a rapid burst in learning for both child and parent. Knowing approximately when to anticipate these periods is key to understanding your child and enjoying being a parent. They are touchpoints because they're predictable and can help parents make decisions about how to handle their children. By watching our parents work through touchpoints, you can gain insight and relief in understanding the universal challenges and joys of raising children. Once you've made it through pregnancy and delivery, and the romantic period of we've made it, the baby's okay, and we're okay, you face the reality of being a day-to-day parent. How do you do that? Is there a way to prepare for it? Or do you just face this stress and get through it? There are ways. Let's watch our families from the Brazelton study experience their baby's first year. I hope they'll help you make the decisions you need to make. Marty and Margaret Schumacher have just had their second child. Their new baby Molly is a very active and sometimes trying baby. Emma, the older child, feels left out. The parents' job now is to bring their family together. Laura Ryan chose to be a single mother. With all the insecurities of going it alone, she has her baby Sarah, and they are making it. But now it will be even harder for Laura, going to school, working, and trying to be everything for her baby. Like the Schumachers, Eric and Martha Carson have made room for number 2. Eric, an intern, has limited time. Martha, often parenting at home alone, is struggling with the effort it takes to be there for all of them. John and Stella So gave birth to their first child, Philip, 6 weeks early. The drama of having a premature baby has made it difficult for Stella to let go of him. Her husband's role is to try and help Stella realize she doesn't have to work so hard at being a mom. Patricia and David Chamberlain, older first-time parents, went through a lot of turmoil, having lost 3 pregnancies before their baby Laura was born. Now that they're a family, they're struggling to define their roles. By 6 to 8 weeks of age, a baby already expects certain things from each parent. She will have learned each parent's vocalizations and smiles and their rhythms, whether they expect to play or be serious, whether they expect a response back. And she will have learned how to get their responses for herself by using her body language. She has already learned how to communicate. Now watch this experiment with the Carsons. Cece and Martha have learned about give and take, about rhythms. Cece has learned how to keep her mother coming by waiting to respond. She has learned to protect herself from too much overload. Most important, Cece has learned to blow her mom out of her chair with her bright smile.
That's a pretty girl.
Look what else she's learned. We asked Martha to use an unresponsive face with her. Cece tries about 5 different behavioral programs to get her mom to come back. She can't believe Martha won't respond. Cece already expects something very different from her father. She expects to play with him. She has an entirely different rhythm and body language which she saves for her father.
You gonna speak? Are you gonna say something? You are? What are you saying? Does that mean you want to get up? Was that good or bad?
Part of learning to be a parent is finding yourself so overwhelmed by the excitement of the new baby. Parents are likely to compete for the baby because they've fallen so much in love.
Most of the time she is with the baby, and the rest of the time I'm working, and so that has made things a little different than we had anticipated. She is the mom now, and I'm kind of just the dad. So I'm wondering, in a couple months, if when we both are working evenly, if we'll be able to even up the time with her, because right now Patricia knows the answers better than I do.
With the addition of a new baby, everyone has to sort out a new role in the family, especially first-time parents. For David, learning his role in this new triangle is painful and it takes time. So in a way, she shoves you out by being so confident.
Yeah, she's a little quick to say, try this. Well, I still need another minute to find it out myself.
I see.
So I have to pick on her a little bit about that.
But let me ask you this. Do you think her jumping in and telling you what to do is a form of gatekeeping?
Very much so, yeah. She's very protective, and it's her domain in many ways. And I do resent that a little bit, but I think that'll take care of itself as I become more competent.
For Laura, a single parent, giving her baby up to anyone, even her parents, is difficult. Have your parents enjoyed her too?
Oh, yeah. I have to fight them for time.
Do you? I wondered if you could let them have time.
I've been okay. Like one time I made my mom mad because I wouldn't let her hold her.
Well, I had to get after Laura about that the other day.
You did?
We're only going to be here a week. We've got to hold her.
And she wouldn't let you until you told her. Wish
I finally got her away.
you did.
I get my share.
But Stella, you won't admit that you feel shy.
I guess I'm trying to fight that feeling.
Are you?
A little bit. I mean, sure, when I see other people playing with them and he's being very reactive to them, then I feel a little like, oh, he's not reacting to me, but he'll react to them. But I try to shut that feeling out as much as possible because I don't want to be caring, overprotective.
For Stella, giving up the idea of being everything to the baby is tough. She will have to accept the real role of a new mother, which is to let the baby lead her. In the first 2 months, feeding feels like the major responsibility for the parent. Am I doing it right, or am I doing it wrong? When and how much? A new parent is likely to respond to every signal from the baby with the feeding.
Sometimes I think she's feeding him when he really doesn't need it so much.
I see.
And there have been a few times when I've told her just leave him alone, and I've got her to leave him alone for another, say, 3 minutes. Then he's fallen asleep for, say, 4 hours or so, you know.
But then he goes for a stretch of 7 hours where he doesn't eat, and that worries me. Because he must be getting dehydrated and hungry.
You want to feel needed, or are you just...
No, I just worry that,
I say just give him a bottle of water or something like that. Give him some water.
I've started giving him more juice and things like
And
that.
water.
But it does worry me, like he'll be awake and playing for 3 hours and he'll start fussing. And then John says, just leave him alone. And he does fall asleep, and he falls asleep for about 4 hours. 7 hours seems such a long time for a little baby.
Is
to
it possible for a baby to have a regular schedule, say, every 4 hours, but then every now and then 7 hours, 8 hours maybe even, something like that, without being hungry?
Well, it sounds like maybe it would help you all to have a schedule now. That you didn't have to get... Do you get into a sort of battle about this, or...?
No, not especially.
But you feel uncomfortable?
I feel a little uncomfortable.
So it is something you don't agree on. So it might help to begin to aim toward a schedule. Schedules are made to help a child fit into a family. And at the point where they are as adjustable as he sounds like he's getting, then sure, I'd begin to push him. I think 7 hours during the day is a lot. And if he's stretched out at night, then you're very lucky. And I would certainly want it to happen at night.
Okay.
So I would set up the day when you want to start in the morning, and then expect him to eat every 4 hours, but not any more than that. And see if that helps you. Martha, how is the feeding going?
Well, she's been doing well. I've been trying to give her at least 2 relief bottles during the day because she doesn't like to take the bottle, so that when we try to go out, for a couple hours or so, she has a hard time being left with someone. So I had been on 1 for the first 2 months, and now I'm trying to do it more often.
It doesn't interfere with your milk supply?
No, not really. In fact, sometimes it usually helps because recently she seems to be very hungry.
Starting a relief bottle early can give the mother a sense of freedom, and it gives the father a chance to feed his baby.
Shower. It was the dreaded Thursday night experiment.
But while I taught him Thursday
Dad's night, which went wrong.
He didn't think he did so well on the Thursday nights when I was teaching.
Well, it started out, it sounded like a wonderful idea. One evening a week, where Patricia would leave about 4 or 5, and I'd have her for the evening, and we'd plan little things to do, and get to know all her moods and things, and at about the same time, or after a couple of these Thursday nights, she decided she would no longer accept a bottle of expressed milk. She either wanted to be breastfed or starve, So that one Thursday night, I was just fit to be tied. She'd look at me and she'd give me all the signals. You're my provider. You're my dad. Come on. Where's the milk? And when she realized that this bearded guy didn't have the milk, she just didn't want to have anything to do with me, and screamed and cried, and hours of this stuff. I almost called you a couple times.
I remember
it was so sad.
When Patricia was pregnant, you were a little bit jealous that she was going to be able to nurse her, and you weren't.
Well, this was a case where I was really fit to be tied. I'd have given anything to have her there. I went outside the house and screamed a couple times. Out of frustration, not being able to help her,
But then I came home that Thursday night. She didn't want to nurse. No.
In this case, Laura wants her mother and won't accept David as a substitute. David has to learn that not every cry means a feeding. How does a parent know when their baby needs to go to sleep? Should they wake her up to feed her if she sleeps too long? How will they know when to put her down? Will she tell them? Understanding the cycles of sleeping and waking become your first way to answering these questions. Laura, I'd like to sort of explain states to you because they sort of dominate the way a baby behaves all during the day. And you tell me that she sleeps a lot, but it might be fun for you to see the different kinds of sleep. There are at least two that you could see easily. One is light sleep, and the other is deep sleep. And they sort of cycle through light and deep sleep every hour, and then have a big cycle every 3 to 4 hours when they go like this, and then all of a sudden they come way up, and then they want to be fed or want to be played with or something to get themselves back down again. And this is called cycling of states. And the way you can tell states, and she's in a sort of light sleep state now because her eyes are moving around and she's got some movement. See that jerking of her eyes? And then the sort of movements of her body. That goes with light sleep. And a baby like you described she is, has very good ways of putting themselves down into sleep, of making themselves stay asleep in the face of a lot of chaos and a lot of noise. And once she gets a little bit more mature, she'll wake up more and be awake more and want to take in the world. But for the first few weeks, they really need to shut it out so they can grow and gain weight and get mature. At 5 months, the love affair which has consolidated itself between parent and child suddenly changes with a burst of independence. Bursts in motor and cognitive development affect sleep, feeding, everything the parent now feels they've learned to control. The baby's increased capacity for awareness brings about a kind of stress between parent and baby that nobody expects. This is when parents say, uh-oh, I've got to make another kind of adjustment. The baby's new independence creates a sense of loss and separation for the parent. But it is also one of the most exciting times. Now the baby is beginning to tell you in so many ways, I'm my own person. At 5 months, peekaboo is more than a game. It shows babies are beginning to master a kind of expectancy about what is going to happen. See how she watches what I do, digests it, and then conquers it. The baby is learning. She can let people disappear and they will come back. She can trust them to return, and it adds to her sense of being independent.
Yeah, what do you think of that? What do you think of that? Hello, Philip. Hello, Philip. How are you doing? Hello. Hello.
Stranger anxiety shows that he's learned who the important people in his world are, and I'm not one of them. His ability to make these differentiations is another step toward his feeling of being independent. But that's real stranger anxiety. You know, it starts at 5 months. Everybody talks about it at 8 months, but the truth is it starts at 5 months. And he certainly knows the difference between me and Stella. The push for independence at this age is likely to come from the baby first. At this time, the parents begin to realize that if the baby can be independent, I'd better reorganize my own world.
Yeah, probably by the end of September I'll be back part-time.
Really?
Yeah, like 20 hours a week.
It's interesting that all of you are thinking about this at a time when they're beginning to separate. Have you made that connection? You know, the separation first comes with this stranger awareness. And they begin to get very separate. They're hard to feed because they're looking around all the time doing things like that. And they're aware of everybody else. You saw that today. And it's the beginning of the first real stage of separation. And it's interesting that you're going back to school at a time like that. How does that make you feel?
The first day that I came home from school, from the first day of school, and she was there with Sherry, and I was holding her, but Sherry was making faces at her, and she was laughing and smiling at Sherry, and I just wanted to take her in the other room and play with her by myself.
Right, to get rid of Sherry?
Right. It's like, thank you, you're done now.
Does Sherry know that?
I don't think so. I mean, I try. I mean, I know that she doesn't like Sherry better than me or anything like that, but so I try and act normal. So, but
You know, it wouldn't hurt to talk it over with her, though, because this thing that you're talking about with John and you're talking about with your sitter is a normal kind of jealousy. Anybody that cares about a small baby is going to be jealous of other people that care about them. And so if you want Sherry to understand your feelings and understand that she probably feels jealous of you too, it's better to lay it out on the table. Parents feel that they're beginning to lose their baby at this time. Laura shows how hard it is for her. Now what I'd like for you all to do is to make them sit, but let me show you first why. Because a baby at 5 months sits like this, with their balance like this. At 6 months they get like this and get a little bit braver. At 7 months they'll sit, but you can see they're still trying to learn their balance. And at 8 months they're like this. And you can literally tell how long a baby's been sitting and how long he's been trying by how adept he is with the rest of his body. So it'd be fun to see now with these babies who are at 5 months how they're trying to learn. The baby demonstrates a real preference for the upright position. He loves to be standing. He will even stop crying if you stand him up. He hates to lie down and prefers a sitting position so he can look around his new world and digest it. Some babies can support themselves in sitting by propping themselves up with both arms. Cece even uses her eyes to hang on to me to stay sitting, but she topples all too easily. Now that right hand. Oh, there she goes. Now, you all watch. At the point where they get really ready to do it themselves, they won't depend on you anymore. And you'll see a real changeover in the way they sit. I think she's just about there, as a matter of fact, because she's already learned to anchor herself with her arm. You know, one thing I like at this age, at about 5 months, is how excited they get about standing. Stand her up and let's see her, Martha.
She wants to go everywhere.
That's great. That is so exciting. Yeah, it's the world, isn't it? And look at you.
Oh, come on. Hey, Philip. Philip, look. Oh, you want to look at the other babies. Can't you show me? Yeah, how proud you are. You know what I think? I think they're programmed to want to be upright. And this is the first sign that they really love to be on their feet. You know, it's as if we'd been programmed to be upright. And this is the first time they show you how thrilling it is to make it. Cece's not only learned that objects are still there when they drop, but she knows to look down. Here. Now look, Cece, suppose I do this. There. Now suppose I put it there. No, she hasn't learned object permanence. At the point where she's learned that it's hidden, she'll take the cover off
Take it off of it.
to find it.
Way to go. Way to go.
Where'd it go?
Way to go.
Where was it? If I take... Cece, look.
There it is.
There it is. See? And you see if you can learn it. This baby is still too young to know that when something disappears, she has the power to make it come back. With mastering the concept of object permanence comes the more important realization that persons can be permanent.
There. See, she's learned it.
Their world is enlarging so fast. It is so exciting. But this excitement during the day interferes with sleep and with feeding. Parents need to reevaluate sleep and feeding patterns at this time to prepare for the next exciting months. How is the sleeping going for all of you?
We're still up twice, about a couple times in the evening. She was, in the beginning, it's funny, in the beginning she started off, she was sleeping through the night. And then once we got to maybe by the 9th or 10th week, she started waking up.
Really?
Yeah.
And she wakes, what, every 3 hours or every 4 hours?
Let's see, she'll go down about, it's about every 3 hours, 3 or 4 hours.
And wakes up all through the night?
No, she'll wake up at 2, then she'll get up again at 5, and then...
Do you have to go to her?
Yeah, I have to get up and I usually just breastfeed her and then put her right back down. So,
Has she learned to get herself to sleep at all?
she will in the morning. She'll wake again about 7 o'clock when Lauren gets up, and she'll kind of settle herself back down.
But she won't at night?
Not at night, no.
How about Philip?
Usually I put him down when it starts getting late, about 9:30, and he'll fuss around a little bit, and then usually cry himself to sleep. But he does it, and he falls asleep. And before, when he was waking up a lot too, I'd just leave him alone, and he'd fuss a little bit. He wouldn't be completely awake, but he'd fall back asleep. And then finally, when he wasn't able to do that, that's when I started him on solid food. And,
Good.
He's doing just fine.
Is he eating the solids?
Oh yeah, he loves it.
Cereal and other solids can certainly help to stretch out the sleep pattern at night when the baby's nervous system is ready for it. Hunger can awaken a baby, but rarely. If you think she's mature and ready to sleep, add cereal to her night feeding to help her. The more important aspect of feeding, which makes it a touch point at this age, is that babies don't want to stay at the breast or bottle. They want to look around and explore their new world. They want to sit up, to reach, to play. Parents feel they're losing out on feedings. The answer? Make feedings more interesting. Let them reach for your face while you feed them at the breast or bottle. Let them hold the bottle with you. Let them play with an object while you feed them solids. They'll be learning techniques to feed themselves later. If you are breastfeeding and they won't stay at the breast, feed them in a dark, quiet room so there are no competing stimuli. Then your milk will keep on coming. This period only lasts a week or two. Then feeding will be easier again. At about 7 to 8 months, new motor and cognitive skills in the child come to the surface and affect every part of their lives. It is often difficult for parents to realize the frustration children feel at this time. They want to crawl, to stand, to learn to walk, to feed themselves, to control their world. It can be very trying, but if a parent understands what the child is going through, it will make it a lot easier. Mobility is so exciting that they use it to get into trouble. They will explore everything in the house. This is the time to be sure your house is safe. Cover electrical outlets. Put away fragile ornaments. Be sure they can stand on furniture without toppling onto a bare floor. They will start to tease you by creeping up to the television, looking back to see that you're watching. This is the beginning of discipline. Remove them and distract them at first, but don't expect that to last. You'd do better to reorganize your house so nothing demands that you watch them continually. They'll tease you unmercifully. By now, object permanence is mastered. If I hide a toy, she will pull the covering away to find it. Think how much this enhances her awareness of where toys might be, of where her parents might be, if she looks for them.
Put it under here, and then under there. Now, where is it? That's right. That's right. That was great. You know all about object permanence. Now, let's see about this. This is called causality. And if she's ready for it, which she may not be, what they learn is that something makes it work. Now she's sort of just exploring it, but so she's not really interested in it at this point as a moving object. Look. Want that? Atta girl! She certainly knows about that, doesn't she? This is called means end. And they know if they pull on the string, they get the object. She certainly has that under control. You can see how much these new cognitive and motor developments will force a reorganization of the baby's world. This makes it a touch point.
Look at the excitement a child shows, the thrill of learning to grasp with her thumb and forefinger rather than using a raking grasp. The pincer grasp wins. She will want to pick up her own food and feed herself from now on. This makes it a touch point for feeding.
That was beautiful.
Now is the time to set up feeding patterns for the future. Your goal is to let them feel in control of their own feeding by letting them feed themselves. Let them have 2 or 3 soft bits at a time to finger, to play with, and to feed themselves. More than that will lead them to throw their food around or drop it over the side. Most important, keep feedings a time for communication, not pressure.
Because I try to give her the food she can play with and then a little food that I'll feed her at the same time. And towards the end of the food that I feed her, when there's not too much of it, I'll give her that dish as well that she can play with. But she'll put it on her head. And she likes to put things on her head and look like this and then reach out.
The passion is there. She gets really lusty when she's eating. It's really something.
She's a real lusty eater.
Well, you know, that lust is what you don't want to interfere with. And anybody who doesn't respect the child's need to do their own feeding, their own playing with food, is going to kill that lust. And that's what's so tragic.
I noticed this. You say that you have sort of a finger food for Laura to hold, and then meanwhile you're feeding him also?
Well, not
is that your compromise for letting her feed herself?
No, what I do is I start off with, there's you know, like for breakfast we have like cereal and yogurt and things like that, and I feed her a little bit of that, and then I'll give her a little bit on the spoon and let her play with that spoon, and then when she wants some more to eat because she's not getting anything, she'll look at me and try to just play around with what she does, because right now we have a big table and we have one of seats that sit on it, so she can just pitch everything around.
So it really sounds like a period of intense communication. I mean, you're communicating in about 4 or 5 different ways.
45 minutes to eat.
Is anybody having trouble with sleeping?
A few weeks ago, she started waking up screaming in the night.
I would pick her up and console her and just hold her for a while until she relaxed. And generally it worked putting her back down within 10, 15 minutes.
Right.
Just gentle walking and rocking.
Is Philip doing this too?
Yes, he was doing that for quite a while too, just exactly like you're describing. Just suddenly at the top of his lungs, he'd be dead asleep right before then. Scream just like for 20 minutes or so.
Makes for a restful night, doesn't it?
Sometimes he'd do it at a burst, like 3 minutes even, but constantly all night long.
And you'd have to get up and go to it?
No, we'd let him, we could tell when it was one of those bursts, and so it is sort of disturbing. You know, we couldn't tell. We thought maybe mosquitoes were biting or something. We didn't know what. We check them all over for.
Well, it is a REM cycle. You know what REM is? Light sleep cycle, and they come up every 2 to 3 hours and burst. And whatever they're learning during the day comes to the surface at that point. And then they start trying to put it together all over again. And you can see in their faces here how much intensity they put into every bit of learning that goes on. And so I think this is what happens in the middle of the night.
Yeah. But is that over with for you guys now?
No, last night he did it again. Sometimes it's an on and off thing for him. Some nights he sleeps 12 hours straight through, no problem. And then some nights he'll wake up 2-3 hours, you know, every 2-3 hours, and just scream. And I'd have to hold him to comfort him. And then as soon as I put him down, he'd scream again, but then we'd go back to sleep.
Have you ever tried just patting him down in the crib?
I've tried, but as soon as he senses that I'm near him, then he's up to the side of the crib and he's standing up.
And it is standing partly too. That certainly is a time when it comes to the surface, when they start standing in their cribs. Then they act like they can't get back down. And yet look at him in the daytime. He can get down fine in the daytime.
No, when he bursts though, he's lying down. He's just sleeping. Sometimes you're there, and then suddenly, while he's on his side, just starts screaming. Yeah, so.
Well, see what you think. If it's associated with a developmental spurt, either in motor or cognitive, or even in psychological, you know, like the stranger awareness that's coming that comes in here. And I think with all of those three, it can come to the surface at night, and very often does. And then what would you do if you thought it was that?
Feel a little bit more comfortable.
It'd be nice if the crying vocabulary were a little broader. So you can read it, you know.
Exactly.
But right now, a cry is a cry, and you have to investigate every time.
Yeah, but David, don't you think this is the way you learn?
I think this is making you try at so many different avenues that by the time you find one that works, like he says, he goes after 5 minutes because he can tell the change in cry. I think that's a kind of learning process.
She does have a, I guess I will go to sleep after I cry a little bit,
Yeah. Well, and I think you'll know by the same token when it's just demanding or provocative or when he's, whatever you mean by spoiling. And so I'd watch for that. You know, I think they're very clear. A spoiled child doesn't confuse me or you, does he? You know when you'd like to stop them. And I think they're only confusing to a parent who shoves it under and doesn't pay attention to that point at which the child changes the tone.
All of these parents are trying so hard. They're now beginning to get a sense of the baby's language.
I know, it's so...
It is important for them to see now that all of these touch points are interrelated. At about a year, all of these issues are once again heightened.
Look at Molly now. She's going
Even with babies who've been sleeping through the night, there's likely to be a resurgence of waking at 2 and 6 a.m. at this age. The motor excitement of standing and the frustration of wanting to walk, the desire to be more independent can break through at night. All this new exploration and learning is so exciting and demanding that waking up at night is the likely response. What should a parent do? Certainly you must go to them to be sure they know you're there. Don't take them out of their crib if you can help it. Sit by them to comfort them. Don't feed them regularly at night. If you think they're hungry, wake them up at 10 to feed them. By waking them before they wake you, you can break the cycle of waking at 2 and 6 a.m. Let him learn to play in his crib in the morning so you don't have to get up with him. And he'll eventually learn to be independent at night. Now the excitement really begins. Crawling or scooting is still the business approach to efficiency in their world, but they want to walk so badly. It is the most important touch point in your child's development when they finally get up on their feet. This burst in development can be so frustrating to your child that feeding and sleep are certain to be disrupted. Also, during this time, negativism will surface. They want to do everything themselves. The first birthday brings a major touch point into focus. Now that your child has the concept of walking and of becoming independent, every child conceives of conquering his or her world. The frustration of not walking as easily as everyone around him and the determination to make his own decisions invade every aspect of his behavior. Feeding, sleeping, separations, discipline, social interactions. Parents see the child change from an easy-to-understand, compliant baby to a negative, determined, often angry toddler. What a transition. What a touch point to understand. Motor freedom seems to be the trigger for this sense of independence. As she gets used to walking, her legs come together, her arms come down, and she can even walk with toys in her hands. She can even dance to turn around as she walks. She's free. Negativism will peak in temper tantrums before long. This is a touch point for discipline. The importance of negativism is it shows that your child is becoming independent. Without negativism, children can't learn the power of their independence. Their provocative behavior is bound to test your limits because their determination is so great. There's so much negativism in her walking. She doesn't want to walk, do you? You do not want to walk. And just before they walk, they don't want to be handled or held or picked up or anything. They want to do it themselves. And I think she's just on the brink of wanting to walk herself and not to have me to help her.
No. You didn't. No.
Are you going to do it?
No. I don't think he's going to do it.
He's too interested in strangers.
Play some games in terms of...
Isn't he interested in strangers now?
Yes.
Then you did it. You did it.
No.
You know, he did just exactly what I'd expect. When you want him to do something, he's not going to do it.
That's true.
It's after you let him forget about it that he does it.
No. No.
You can do it.
And then I won't look at him and
That's
he'll do
right.
it.
We don't look at him and he'll do it.
He's got that sly look on his face.
That's right. He's in control. This is the beginning of negativism. You're going to find it gets a lot worse. They'll start just flaking out with temper tantrums before long. If you understand these temper tantrums ahead of time, they're not such a terrible thing to go through. Why do they throw these tantrums? Because they're so frustrated. They're at the point where they want to make up their own minds. Will I? Won't I? Will I do what my parents want me to do or not? And they can't make up their own minds, so they lie down on the floor and scream. And you feel like it's your fault.
Sometimes I would imagine that if I went and paid attention to him every single time, that I would kind of be spoiling him or something like that. It's not really true, just either way what you do.
Well, I don't know what you mean by spoiling him.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I know what I mean either.
What did you mean?
It's just that, you know...
He would start throwing tantrums to get our attention.
Oh, I see. I don't think it necessarily is that. It might be. He certainly knows how to get your attention, doesn't he?
Yeah, but he doesn't really throw tantrums to get our attention.
Not now.
So,
No, I think of a spoiled child as one that doesn't quite know where the limits are and that needs discipline but doesn't get it. Mm-hmm. And so they keep teasing to get you to stop them, to say no. Mm-hmm. And of course, with a spoiled child, what you want to do is say, no, stop it. And they look so relieved when you do. But I don't think...
But with the tantrum, it's a little different. He'll just bust out and start crying and such.
You won't miss it. When it happens, it'll surprise you. And of course, it'll be in a crowded place where everybody looks at you like, what did you do to this nice little boy?
Oh.
Look at the joy.
No. Now, I asked you not to play with this here. You want to go see your sister? Okay. Go see Lauren? No, Cece? No. Can I put the box over here, please? Let's go see Daddy.
Yeah. They use you all against each other?
Trying to see if they can get their way. If one says no, they'll find someone who's going to tell them yes.
How do you solve that?
Well, we really have to kind of stand our ground.
Do you? Do you talk it over and...
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times it just ends up you have to either move something away from them or just take them away from that particular thing. Like, we got a new light recently, and the thing is, Cece was curious the first day, and she kind of picked up the fact that we kept telling her, you know, Cece, don't touch that because it's going to fall. And from that point on, I came home a couple of nights, and she would go over and she would grab it, and she'd look at you, and she'd start shaking, and she'd smile, and you'd tell her no, and she would say, and you would walk towards it, and she would walk away, and then she'd walk back towards it again as soon as you sat back down, and she'd grab it and she'd smile, and so it was kind of this thing, you get up and she moves back.
Well, it sounds like you were teasing each other, like you were having fun at our level. Oh, there.
No.
There's the look.
No.
She'll do something, then she'll look.
Oh.
Good girl. Thank you. Thank you.
Looking for a response.
Oh, but that was pretty good. That was pretty good.
Yeah, I thought you just came over to get refuel so she can go back and try some more.
Cece, no.
They don't. No. 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 No.
That's where most of the no's come from, isn't it?
Yeah, she's a disciplinarian, too.
Saying no to this one.
The enforcer.
As everybody leaves, she goes back.
Be careful.
No. No. No, Cece.
Can you ask her to stop?
No following.
By 18 months, every child has established his or her territory. The struggle for independence is constant. Passionate negativism in the form of temper tantrums and teasing takes up most of the toddler's day. Parents can either see this as the terrible twos, or they can see how much learning is going on. Learning about the world, learning about how to control themselves and others around them, learning where to stop, but mainly learning how exciting their world is. A child's zest for living is a symptom of a good self-image. It is so powerful that I hope parents will see this as the terrific twos.
Cheerios, the proud sponsor of Touchpoints, the Brazelton study.